Most people don't realize this, but there are things in your life right now that are keeping you trapped in a low vibration. You might think it's just bad luck, or that life is unfair, but the truth is, there are forces at play that work in silence, keeping you stuck. If you're watching this, it means you're ready to break free. But you must listen carefully. Because once you know what these 7 things are, you will never see reality the same way again. Let's start with the first one, something so subtle, so insidious, that it has already infected your mind without you realizing it. Have you ever wanted something so badly that you felt like you couldn't live without it? Maybe it was love, money, success. You chased it, you begged for it. And what happened? It ran from you every single time.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
But why? Because desperation is the energy of lack. When you desire something with desperation, you are telling the universe, I don't have this, and the universe, being the mirror that it is, responds by giving you more of what you are, someone who doesn't have it. Think about that for a second. Have you ever noticed that the moment you stop caring about something, it suddenly appears in your life? That's because you release the energy of desperation. The moment you shift from I need this to I already have all that I need, reality bends. The real question is, what are you still chasing that is repelling you? Most people think time heals all wounds, but that's not true. Time doesn't heal anything, awareness does. There are people walking around with open wounds from 10, 20, even 30 years ago, and they don't even realize it. They carry pain like a badge of honor, replaying the same old stories, the same betrayals, the same heartbreaks. And here's the problem: every time you relive that pain, you are re-entering the same low vibration that created it in the first place. You are keeping yourself stuck in the past, and the past is a prison that has no doors. The only way out is to stop touching it, stop feeding it, stop identifying with it. What story of pain are you still carrying that is shaping your reality today? Look around. How many people do you know who complain every single day? They complain about their job, their relationships, their health, the weather, the government. They think complaining is harmless, but what they don't realize is that every complaint is an energetic command. Every time you complain, you are broadcasting to the universe, I want more of this, and reality responds exactly as requested. This is why some people live in a never-ending loop of problems. They don't realize that their words are spells, and every complaint is a curse they place upon their own life. So, here's the challenge: can you go 24 hours without complaining? Most people can't. But those who do, their entire life shifts, because without complaint, all that's left is gratitude. And gratitude is the frequency of miracles. This is going to hurt some people, but it needs to be said: control is an illusion. The more you try to control things, the more out of control your life feels. The more you force, the more resistance you create. Have you ever noticed that the things you try hardest to control always end up slipping through your fingers? That's because control is rooted in fear. Fear that if you don't grip tightly enough, everything will fall apart. But here's the truth: nothing real can be lost. The moment you stop trying to control everything, the moment you surrender, life starts flowing effortlessly. The right people stay, the right opportunities come, the right path reveals itself. The only thing stopping that from happening is you. What are you still gripping onto that is holding you back? This one is dangerous. And most people don't even see it happening. energy is contagious. The people around you are either raising your vibration or draining it. There is no in between. Think about this: if you took the 5 people you spend the most time with and combined their mindset, their energy, their habits, you would get yourself. So, who are you surrounding yourself with? Are they lifting you or are they keeping you trapped? Because if you want to rise, but you're constantly around people who drag you back into old patterns, into gossip, into negativity, into fear, you will never escape. It's not about cutting people off, it's about realizing that some people are simply not meant to go where you're going. And that's okay. But the longer you hold on to connections that lower your vibration, the longer you delay your own evolution. The real question is, who in your life is keeping you stuck? And are you willing to let go? The hardest truth most people refuse to accept is that not everyone is meant to walk with them to the next level. Some people are only in your life because they match your old vibration, the version of you that tolerated negativity, that accepted less than you deserved, that entertained conversations filled with doubt, fear, and limitation. And the moment you start rising, the moment you stop engaging in low energy habits, something happens. You begin to feel the weight of those connections. You notice how certain people drain you, how their words no longer resonate, how their presence feels heavy instead of uplifting. And this is the moment most people fail. Instead of walking away, they lower their frequency just to keep those relationships alive. They start pretending again, laughing at jokes they don't find funny, agreeing with opinions they don't believe in, dimming their light because they're afraid of being alone. But here's what they don't realize: when you hold on to people who lower your vibration, you are rejecting the people who are meant to meet you at your highest level. You cannot step into the next version of yourself while keeping one foot in the past. The only way forward is to let go, not with anger, not with resentment, but with the deep understanding that some connections expire the moment you outgrow the energy that created them. And the real question is, who in your life is keeping you small? And are you brave enough to walk away? But it's not just people, it's habits, routines, the small things you do every day without even thinking. Most people live in a cycle so predictable, so repetitive, they don't even realize they are trapped. They wake up, check their phone, scroll mindlessly, consume negativity before they've even taken a deep breath. They go through their day reacting instead of creating, numbing themselves with distractions, filling every empty moment with noise because silence would force them to face themselves. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But here's the truth: your habits are the foundation of your vibration. What you do daily is shaping your energy more than any single event ever could. If your mornings start with stress, your days will follow. If your nights end with mindless consumption, your mind will stay cluttered. There is no mystery to this. If you don't change your habits, you don't change your frequency. And if you don't change your frequency, you don't change your life. The ones who rise are the ones who take control of their energy at the smallest level. They don't wait for motivation. They don't wait for motivation. They don't wait for the right time. They build discipline. They create routines that elevate them. They protect their mental space like it is sacred, because it is. And the only question left is, how many more days are you willing to waste living in patterns that are keeping you stuck? And then there's the final thing, the most dangerous of all: the belief that you have time. This is the greatest illusion, the greatest trap, the greatest lie ever told. People walk through life acting like they have forever, like they can delay their dreams, like they can postpone their purpose. like they can wait until they feel ready. But here's the truth: there is no perfect moment. There is no one day, there is no future where everything magically aligns without action. The only time you ever have is now. And the people who truly transcend, the ones who escape the cycle of low vibration, the ones who break free from ordinary existence, are the ones who understand this at the deepest level. They don't wait. They don't hesitate. They move with urgency, not out of fear, but out of the absolute knowing that life is happening in this very second, and every moment wasted is a moment they will never get back. They stop making excuses. They stop waiting for permission. They stop living small because they finally realize that nothing is guaranteed, not tomorrow, not next year, not even the next breath. And this is the final test. Do you keep waiting, keep delaying, keep pretending you have time? Or do you wake up now, step fully into your power, and finally move like your life depends on it? Because the truth is, it does. Most people live as if life is an endless rehearsal, as if they can keep postponing their dreams, their growth, their highest potential for some distant future that will never come. They wake up every day thinking they have time, telling themselves they'll start tomorrow, next week, next year. And then one day they look back and realize they've spent their entire life waiting. But waiting for what? The perfect moment? The right opportunity? Permission? None of that is real. The truth is, every second you hesitate, every moment you delay, you are choosing stagnation over expansion. And that choice has consequences. You don't stay the same, you either grow or you decay. You either rise or you sink. And the ones who truly escape a low vibration life are the ones who stop hesitating. They stop making excuses. They stop living in their heads, overthinking, second-guessing, doubting. Instead, they move with certainty. They act as if their time is limited because it is. And the people around them don't understand. They'll call them obsessed, intense, unrealistic. But that's because most people are asleep. Most people are so deeply programmed into complacency that anyone who moves with urgency looks extreme. But look closely at those who hesitate, those who delay, those who keep saying one day. Do they look happy? Do they look fulfilled? Or do they look like people who are slowly suffocating under the weight of their own wasted potential? And this is where the final separation happens. Because escaping a low vibration life isn't just about removing the negative, it's about stepping fully into the highest version of yourself. It's about moving differently, thinking differently, speaking differently. It's about carrying yourself as if you already are the person you claim you want to become. And that means cutting ties with anything that contradicts your new frequency. This is where most people fall. They say they want change, but they keep indulging in the same old habits, the same distractions, the same environments that are keeping them stuck. They don't realize that every action is a vote for the reality they are creating. Every time they scroll mindlessly, every time they engage in meaningless drama, every time they let fear dictate their choices, they are reinforcing the very life they claim they want to escape, and the universe responds accordingly. Because energy doesn't lie. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. And if your actions don't match your words, if you keep dipping back into the old frequency while claiming to reach for the new, you will never break free. This is why so many people stay trapped. They underestimate the price of transformation. They think they can rise without sacrifice. But the truth is, The higher you go, the more you must release. And the ones who truly ascend are the ones who have the courage to burn everything that no longer fits. And then it happens, the shift that changes everything. The moment you stop negotiating with your old self, the moment you stop entertaining low-energy conversations, the moment you stop excusing your own procrastination, something clicks. Life starts moving differently. The right people appear. The right opportunities flow. What once felt impossible now feels effortless. Not because of luck, not because of magic, but because you finally became a match for the life you've always wanted. And when this happens, there is no going back. You'll look at the world differently. You'll see through the illusions, the distractions, the lies that keep most people stuck. And you will realize that the only thing that was ever holding you back was you. So now, the decision is yours. Do you keep waiting, keep hesitating, keep living in the same loop, convincing yourself that you have time? Or do you wake up now, step fully into your power, and move like someone who understands that everything, your future, your success, your freedom depends on what you do in this exact moment? Because whether you rise or whether you stay stuck, reality will reflect it back to you. And the only real question left is, will you finally decide to move? Most people hear this and feel a spark. Something inside them wakes up. They feel the urgency, the truth, the weight of everything they've delayed. And for a moment they swear they'll change. But then what happens? They go right back to the cycle, right back to the distractions, right back to the same habits, right back to waiting. Because feeling inspired for a moment is easy, what's hard is actually moving differently. What's hard is breaking the addiction to comfort, to procrastination, to old patterns that feel familiar but are silently killing their potential. And this is where most people fail. Not because they don't want change, not because they don't believe in it, but because they refuse to do the one thing that actually makes it real: commit, fully, without hesitation, without excuses, without constantly looking back. And that's why most people never escape a low-vibration life. They flirt with change. They dip their toe in, get excited for a few days, and then fall right back into the old version of themselves because they never made a real decision. But the ones who do, the ones who wake up one day and say, I don't care what it takes. I don't care what I lose. I don't care how uncomfortable it gets. I am done living below my potential. Those are the ones who break free. Because they understand something most people never will: there is no halfway. You either commit fully or you stay stuck. And once that decision is made, everything shifts. It's not just about thinking differently, it's about becoming a different person. And that means cutting off everything that contradicts the new frequency. The habits that drain you, gone. The people who keep you stuck, gone. The excuses you've been telling yourself for years, gone. And this is where things get hard, because most people don't want to let go. They want to rise, but they also want to stay comfortable. They want success, but they don't want to sacrifice. They want to be free, but they don't want to leave behind the things that are keeping them trapped. And that's why they stay in the same place, year after year, wondering why nothing changes. But the ones who truly rise, the ones who escape the cycle, they move differently. They don't negotiate with their old self. They don't entertain distractions. They don't allow themselves the luxury of hesitation. They move with urgency. They move with certainty. They move with certainty They move like people who know that every second spent in old patterns is a second stolen from the life they were meant to live. And the moment you start moving like that, life starts moving for you. The right opportunities appear, the right people come into your life, the right doors open. Not because of luck, not because of coincidence, but because you finally became a match for the life you've always wanted. And when that happens, you realize something that changes everything. This was never about waiting for the right time, the right opportunity, the right circumstances. It was always about you. It was always about whether you would finally decide to stop living small, stop making excuses, stop waiting for permission to be great. And once you see that, there is no going back. You will never again waste time on things that drain your energy. You will never again lower your standards just to make other people comfortable. You will never again entertain anything that pulls you back into a lower frequency. Because once you felt what it's like to operate at a higher level, to move with full alignment, to live without hesitation, nothing else is acceptable. This is the moment where everything shifts. The only question is, will you actually do it? Or will you keep living in the same cycle, pretending you have time, convincing yourself that change is something you'll do later? Because later is an illusion, and the only thing that determines whether you rise or stay stuck is what you do right now. Most people will hear this, feel the weight of it, maybe even agree with it, and then do nothing. That's the brutal truth. They will nod, they will get inspired for a moment, and then they will go right back to the same patterns, the same habits, the same low energy cycles that have kept them stuck for years. And the worst part, they will convince themselves that they still have time, that it's okay to wait a little longer, that they'll start next week, next month, next year. But next never comes. They don't see it happening. But every moment they delay, they are making a choice to stay the same. A choice to remain trapped in a reality they claim they want to escape. And one day they wake up and realize they've spent their entire life waiting for a moment that never arrived. Because it was never about waiting. It was always about whether they would finally decide to move. The ones who break free are not the ones who talk about it the most. They are not the ones who get excited for a few days and then fall back into old patterns. They are the ones who wake up one day and say, enough. They don't wait for motivation. They don't ask for permission. They don't negotiate with their old self. They cut off everything that no longer serves them, and they move with absolute certainty. And that's why they rise while everyone else stays stuck. Because here's what most people don't realize: change doesn't happen gradually. It happens in an instant. The instant you decide that you will no longer tolerate the version of you that settles. The instant you stop making excuses. The instant you stop entertaining distractions. That is the moment everything shifts. And from that moment forward, your only job is to hold that frequency, to move as if you are already the person you are becoming, to refuse to step back into old patterns no matter how tempting they may be. This is where people fail. They make the decision, they feel the shift, but then they slip. They let old habits creep back in. They let old fears whisper in their ear. They let old environments pull them back down. And before they know it, they are right back where they started. Not because change isn't possible, but because they didn't have the discipline to hold the new frequency. The ones who truly escape, the ones who break free for good, they don't just decide once, they decide every single day. They wake up and choose their higher self over their old self, over and over again, until the past version of them no longer exists. And that's why they win. And then something happens that most people will never experience. The shift becomes permanent. The old life, the old patterns, the old version of them is so far gone, so completely unrecognizable, that going back isn't even an option. They don't have to force themselves to stay disciplined anymore. They don't have to fight against their old habits. They have become someone new. And when that happens, the world responds in ways that seem almost impossible. The opportunities they once chased now come to them effortlessly. The people who once drained them are replaced by those who elevate them. The struggles they once fought against disappear because they no longer exist in the frequency that created them. This is what most people will never understand. They think change is about effort, about trying harder, about forcing their way to a new reality. But it's not. It's about becoming a new person entirely. And once that happens, life bends to match that version of you. The only real question is, will you actually do it? Or will you keep living the same loop, waiting for a moment that will never come? Because if you don't decide now, when will you? Most people will never do it. They will hear this, feel the truth in it, maybe even get a rush of motivation, and then they will go right back to the same habits, the same excuses, the same cycle that has kept them stuck for years. Not because they don't want change, not because they don't believe in it, but because they are addicted to their own limitations. They are comfortable in their suffering. They don't like it, but they know it. And what they know feels safer than the unknown, even if the unknown is everything they've ever wanted. This is why most people never rise. They choose familiar misery over unfamiliar freedom. They would rather stay in a life they hate than risk stepping into something greater, because stepping into something greater requires them to let go of everything they've used as a crutch. The excuses, the distractions, the people who validate their limitations, the habits that numb them just enough to avoid facing the truth that they are wasting their potential, that they are living at a fraction of what they are capable of, that every day they delay is a day they will never get back. And yet they still wait, they still hesitate, they still convince themselves that they have time. But time is not something you have. It is something that is taken from you, second by second, whether you use it or not. And this is why the ones who break free are different. They are not the smartest. They are not the most talented. They are not the ones with the most resources or the perfect circumstances. They are simply the ones who get tired of their own excuses. They reach a point where staying the same is more painful than changing. And in that moment, they stop negotiating with their old self. They stop waiting for motivation. They stop expecting it to be easy. They burn the bridge back to their old ways and make it impossible to return. And because of that, they rise. Not gradually, not slowly, but all at once. Because the moment they decide that there is no going back, everything accelerates. The right opportunities appear. The right people come into their life. The things they once struggled to achieve start happening effortlessly, not because they are lucky, not because they are special, but because they finally stopped blocking their own path. This is what most people don't understand. They think success is about fighting harder, struggling more, forcing things to happen. But it's not. It's about getting out of your own way. It's about removing everything that keeps you small, everything that lowers your energy, everything that keeps you trapped in the same cycle year after year. And the moment you do that, the moment you fully commit, life moves in ways that seem impossible. And once that happens, nothing is ever the same again. The old struggles, the old habits, the old version of you, it all fades like a distant memory, like a life that belonged to someone else. And the people who knew you before won't recognize you anymore. Some will be inspired, some will be intimidated, some will try to pull you back because your evolution makes them uncomfortable. But none of it matters. Because once you've seen what's possible, once you've experienced what it feels like to live fully aligned, to move without hesitation, to wake up every day knowing that you are exactly where you are meant to be, there is no going back. The only thing left is to keep rising, to keep expanding, to keep stepping into the highest version of yourself again and again, knowing that there is no limit, that the only thing that was ever stopping you was you. And now that you've removed that obstacle, there is nothing left to do except move forward, faster, with more certainty than ever before. Because the only thing worse than never waking up is waking up and still choosing to stay asleep. And at this point, you already know the truth: you either move now or you never will.